We have a great show lined up for you guys today, talking through position by position takeaways from training camp so far, with 3 more dates open to the public. So, status update on that. And then Cory Kinnan from Daft on Draft stops by, and we talk about quarterbacks looming in the upcoming class, really the next 2 classes. Some great insights from Cory. Think you're going to love today's show. Let's get started with the latest Browns film breakdown right now. What's up, guys? Welcome into today's show. We have a good one, really good one. I think you're going to like what you find in today's show. If you are joining us on the YouTube side or audio side, a fair warning that the interview with Cory later will be behind the subscriber paywall for us at Browns Film Breakdown, which is a great opportunity to come over, unlock the everyday podcast, full form, ad-free. You get newsletters, you get film rooms as everything is about to pick up. We had the Hall of Fame game on last night, the blowout, that happens. But you get everything now just a week away from preseason game 1. So much stuff to come for that game. Obviously, the Browns will have 3 more open sessions. I'll have everything from my viewing of all 3 of those sessions. So I've only missed 1 of the times I could be up there and viewing it from the stands the way I prefer to view it. Maybe in the future we'll do some more media access stuff, but for now I like to keep it low key, keep it up in the stands there where I can see everything from a higher vantage point. So yeah, that's what's going on. That's why you should come over. It's a great opportunity to join us on a monthly or yearly basis. You can lock in that price point for the rest of the year and obviously get into the draft and free agent cycle and all that fun stuff that comes later on after this season as well. So yeah, come over, join us. We're on all the social platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. If you're, like I said, watching us there, you get bits and pieces, but the stuff you need is inside brownsfilmbreakdown.com and then the Substack app, which has a fantastic chat that you can tap into from your phone every day. And if you want to be a founding member, which is our top of the line tier, we have a Slack channel that has a ton of constant Browns banter where I'm one-on-one with all of you and talking through things as I see them, and all of the insights can be found there. So come join us. Today's show, like I said, we'll have Cory later, but for now I want to talk about insights position by position that I have observed so far, right? So we'll start with, we'll just kind of go through the depth chart, work our way skill positions to offensive line. So quarterback wise, Kenny Pickett had some ugly moments, but he also was operating things decently. Your expectations of what this offense are going to be are going to decide how you take in how they're performing, right? So Pickett was fine. I would still say that based on the nature of how he was performing, I would have still gone with Flacco. Like Joe Flacco's had some moments. He operates pretty well in structure for what they want their quarterback to do. There haven't been a ton of wow moments, but that's not necessarily what I would expect in a lot of these sessions where he's got some very calculated reps. He's just the guy going into the brutal part of the first 7 games, who's been around long enough to not be fazed by or intimidated by the environments you're arriving into, right? And that's something that can happen with the rookies. That's just the nature of it. So I continue to think, even despite Kenny's injury, I thought this was the case before, that Joe will start the season. I think Gabriel's a guy that they continue to give more reps to, more challenges to with the first team against the first team defense, kind of raising the stakes on his snaps. What can he do pre to post? Can he handle protections? How does he handle the huddle? Those surrounding elements seem fine. And there have been some good moments for Gabriel in camp, right? I think the adjustment period for not that you don't see big guys in the Big 10 or Big 12 where he was, it's the consistency of the scope of the field tightening, hash marks closer, more narrow pockets, less wide spacing. There's a big adjustment there for somebody coming from Oregon who tried to leverage those things as often as they did. So I would say the growing pains have been there. He's been a little less accurate than I would have hoped for, but the nature of new style of football, all the elements in place, I'm not surprised that he's not lighting it up in camp. But again, I do think there have been some good moments, and I do think for a third round guy early on, he's been given a lot of, I wouldn't call it burden, but a lot of challenges. And like I said, there's been enough good there to have some optimism. Right now, a week from now, with real uniforms on in a game, will tell us a lot. But the clear rookie they prefer is Dylan. Shador has had some nice moments, mostly for Shador. The moments you see on social media are a little bit more of those extended plays. Sometimes where you'll say, well, it looks like he would have been sacked there. Stuff of that nature are usually the highlights. But he has played in structure and in rhythm decently. There have been plenty of times where he's finding on the top of his drop at the whether that's a punch throw where you're kind of at the top of your drop is one step or 3 or 5. He's found solutions. I would just say it's not as consistent as you would like it to be. And there are some of those college hop and hold tendencies that he would get into, sometimes get into that drift vertical that we don't love either. So I think there's enough good from him to feel some optimism about what he can be, right? But I do see the parts of the elements of all of it that are concerning to both draft folks and then obviously the Browns' eagerness to push him into first team reps. So he did get some looks against the first team defense, not first team offense against first team defense, but the first team defense, at least portions of it, was out there on Wednesday, and he had some decent moments against them. So eager to see if that continues here Friday when I go up into the Saturday and then Monday session, that they continue to sort of push him a little bit and put a little bit more on his plate. So, the quarterback room is not overly strong by any stretch here. And I think it is sort of on paper what we think it is. It's not going to be good unless we see some comfort in the preseason that starts to change my opinion. There will be moments for these guys, but the collective is going to struggle. It's just not going to be, compared to the rest of the league, a room that we're overly excited about. Running back has been a little, I don't know. I mean, just you haven't had Jerome Ford very much. We just got him back recently, some snaps and team, and he looked fine. He looked comfortable, and I expected him to play even with if Quinshon Judkins was out there going nonstop. The Judkins thing remains a mystery. We don't know anything about it. Haslam had mentioned something, hopefully he's back sooner than later. I don't know. He remains unsigned. We'll continue to throw our shoulders in the air and, be confused until we have clarity. Dylan Sampson, I like the one cut ability. I like the burst, and I like his change of pace, but contact balance is going to be a problem. There were a couple times where he's been popped, and you can tell he's just not likely to be a absorb contact. And I don't think many of us thought this based on stature, but some of the guys who find success at his size are guys who can soak up a little contact and keep pushing forward. I don't know about that so far. Maybe Carson Schlesinger ends up being, an all-pro linebacker immediately, soon. Not this year, maybe, but in the immediate future. But it's not just Schlesinger. There have been some others who have caught him a little bit, and I think he's getting some exposure to the NFL's hit level. The SEC prepares you better than anything, but the NFL brings it in waves, as we know. But I have been fine with him, and I thought he's done a nice job on the technical standpoint of things. I thought he's done a nice job when asked to pass pro. So Sampson is maximizing his opportunity. I think, again, appropriate expectations are there for me. I don't think he's going to set the world on fire, but I do think he's got a chance to be a nice, consistent running back. So until we get Judkins back, I mean, Pierre Strong is inconsistent as it gets. Some nice moments. He can still really run in the open field, but the vision, processing, patience, it's just not good enough. And that's ultimately why he can't find the NFL field for a prolonged period of time. So that, to me, has not changed. They are floating Troy Hairston in a little bit at fullback here and there, but really Harold Fannin, as we'll talk tight ends next here, is the guy who is rotating and doing some of that stuff. Split backs in the backfield, he's in there. He's lining in the slot. He's aligning in the wing. He's been outside, solo side of 3x1s. They're putting him everywhere. Now, I don't know if that's going to translate immediately to success, but they're willing to do that. He's clearly handling that uptick of usage and variety. And that really Bowling Green prepared him for that. But I do think he's going to have a role. I think he's going to get more targets than people think. And I continue to trend in the direction that they're going to be, decreasing 75% of 11 personnel down to closer to 60% and upticking tight ends. I think Blake Whiteheart has had some nice moments. I continue to think he's going to be a really fine third tight end for them. Feel good about that. And David is David, right? He's, tasked with blocking. He's tasked with getting downfield. He's tasked with underneath throws and various other deep opportunities. He's just, he's in year 9 at training camp. I mean, they're taking it easy with him. You need guys like David the Thoroughbreds who are those veterans to be, ready when the end of August is here, not the 1st of August. So haven't been a ton of big time David Njoku moments, but again, he's going to be fine. The offensive line, and then we'll close with receivers on the offense side. The offensive line is uneven. DeJuan Jones is going against Myles Garrett quite often, which is in and of itself a challenge. No matter if you're Lane Johnson or DeJuan Jones, it's tough. So there's a lot of getting beat there that is happening, but I ultimately think you would give him a significant amount of help against somebody like Myles and try to curtail a game plan that helps him. But DeJuan looks physically fit. He looks better. He's in a good spot, and I think he's moving better than he did last year, and I'm cautiously optimistic about his season. It's been enough good when he's going against other defensive linemen that I think you feel good about it. Okay. The interior, Bitonio, Teller are going to be fine. They're kind of working through reps with those guys, splitting those up here and there. The same with Posick. Again, these guys are, pushing 30 and north of 30 for some of them. And it's just about having them ready week 1. But I think they've been fine. Jack Conklin's the one I'm concerned about more than any other. It's times where I've been viewing practice and he's really getting walked back into the lap of the quarterback and just doesn't seem to be able to shut down the corner the way he used to. So I'm kind of side-eye squinting here. If you're not watching the video with where Conklin will be to start the season, Cornelius Lucas is a nice fallback for either side that struggles, but ultimately you got to remember he's a journeyman for a reason. Lucas with some inconsistency, but yeah, I do think the one up front that has concerned me from consuming things that is not going against 95 consistently is Conklin, that I just have not seen enough of. In the interior, I think Zinter has looked better. I think Whippler has looked better. Both guys coming off, different phases of injuries, but those are guys trying to get the, consistency in their lower half and feel good about that stuff. So I do like those guys. Tevin Jenkins is still out of practice, has missed time, I should say, a majority of time. We're going to hope he's getting some ability to be ready in the next few weeks and, ready for week 1, because you never know what could happen there. I thought Julian Pearl has had some camp moments, number 60, that I have enjoyed. Other than that 10th offensive lineman, I've kind of covered this with you guys. I'm not sure who that's going to be. Javian Cohen, it's tough to always see the interior O-line, how they're performing. He remains a possibility, and he gets a lot of looks with the second team. So, take that for what it's worth. But the offensive line has been okay. It's been okay, but it obviously tilts in favor of, the defense in some of those sessions in a way that I think we probably would expect. The top 3 wide receivers to me at camp have been pretty clear. Cedric Tillman, Jerry Jeudy, I think both look fine. Tillman, I would like to see a little more of those jump out of your seat types of plays from him. Haven't seen enough of them, but that's okay. We'll see when we get to the regular season how it fits. I do think he's more of a zone open receiver than anything else. And I do feel like structurally this offense will help him find levels of success. Jerry Jeudy has looked good, competent, beyond competent. I think he's looked like who he's looked like, and I'm excited to see if there's an uptick for him this year. Granted, quarterback play, right? Deontay Johnson has been the best of the rest, the best separator, inconsistent at times catching the football, but that's been his MO through his career. He's still separating, though, still getting open and catching enough footballs to feel good about it. Jamari Thrash has had some real moments too. I do feel like he will find the football field this year, be a more confident player. I know he found the field late last year, but I have enjoyed some moments from Jamari throughout this training camp, and I do think he's starting to feel more confident in his abilities. DeAndre Carter getting in, mixing it up. The veteran return specialist mixes it up and does fine. Has had some nice red zone moments, nice catch in the left corner of the end zone during one session. So, if they got to put him onto the field in terms of those special teams only guys who we got to thrust into some sort of role, he is competent enough at receiver. The rest, we saw Mike Woods has been cut, and that's not a surprise that they waived him with the injury. Just wasn't out there enough. David Bell's in the same predicament where a guy is just not out there. It's probably headed in the same direction. But Caden, the group behind that gets a lot of the second team reps, you're talking Caden Davis, who wears number 89, Luke Floria, who wears number 37. We all know that story. Gage Larvadane and Cade McDonald. Those are like your four guys to me who are fighting for maybe one of them makes the roster as the sixth guy, or they're, practice squad types. Larvadane is having some real moments, getting open, connecting with Shador, having moments with Gabriel. He's the leader in the clubhouse for me. Luke Floria is not far behind. He's not big and he's not very twitchy, but he gets where he's supposed to get schematically and he catches the ball well. Same for Cade McDonald, but I think Floria is a better version of the two. So you are talking about some of those guys are going to be practice squad players. Caden Davis just kind of consistent, gets where he's supposed to get, catches the ball pretty well, finds his way onto the first team reps here and there. So those four, Larvadane, Floria, McDonald, and Davis, are kind of fighting whether they're keeping a sixth guy or not. They are fighting for practice squad opportunity too. And I think Larvadane, Davis, and Floria are probably at the top of that list. So that's the offense. Those are the insights there. I'll have more in the next 3 days. And then, before you know it, 7 days away, we'll get a preseason game to do some real judgment off official All-22 tape. So looking forward to that. Okay, defense. We have Myles Garrett doing 99 overall Madden grade things. Looks the part. He looks like Myles. He looks fast. He looks agile. He's not lost a step. He's going to have a big year. Should have a big year. And that's really cool to watch up close. If you can ever get up to camp just to watch Myles operate, it is frightening for a guy that size, that muscular, to move the way he does. It would make you question ever playing quarterback, because that is a very intimidating thing. Other defensive ends that have stood out to Isaiah McGuire has had good moments, some really good moments. And he continues to look like a guy who is going to find a second contract and has an effective set of moves to find the quarterback from the edge, but is powerful enough to play strong side edge. I just have a lot of belief in McGuire, and I think he's had a strong camp. Alex Wright has not had as many popular plays, as many blow up plays, but he's going to be a second wave rotational player who I do think has had enough moments still, and obviously working his way back from a very strange upper body injury there that he's got to get right totally, but no pun intended there. I do think he will. Excited to see him in the preseason, how he looks, but he's I think a secondary rotational player. I do think Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who's had some nice moments, and that'll be the case. The guys who win with speed, when shirts and shorts are on, or when you're in pads and maybe not going, they just tend to pop a little bit. I think we know that Joe's not a diverse pass rusher, but has a very strong niche into where he gets on the field. They'll unleash him a little bit. They won't have him dropping as much, even though I think they can have him drop a little bit. I do think he fits trying to get after the quarterback in a unique way, getting him into some blitz looks. He's been out there. He's been active. He's had some moments. So I like a lot of what I've seen there. Cameron Thomas, who wears number 99, as far as the depth guys go, has had some nice moments. Been playing with the first team earlier. Not a diverse pass rusher by any stretch, and a little stiff, but he's strong enough to handle maybe 10 snaps a game. in more run sets than anything else. And I think he's the leader in the clubhouse because I have not seen much from Julian Aquara. I've not seen much from the UDFA Aiden Huntington or KJ Henry to really give you anything concrete on that. But your top 4 edge guys are in place, and then we'll see what they want to do ultimately if they're keeping a 5th guy there. I don't feel like they will, but it is possible. Malik Collins and Mason Graham make a very formidable interior duo. I think Mason Graham looks the part. He moves well. The moves in the pass rush game are getting better, more comfortable with him, and clearly learning and absorbing things at the NFL level because a reminder, and I talked about this when I wrote about him, but the 49 or so, excuse me, the Michigan's defense structures things and asks some different stuff from their defensive line. And in Cleveland, it's very much a get vertical, get north, create disruption. And I think he's going to be pretty good at that, paired with how he instinctually plays the run. So I have been very pleased with how he's looked, creating pressures, also disrupting the run game. Malik Collins is such a good pass rush threat next to him. I think he's looked the part. Twitchy, has had some real moments as well, like watching him in one-on-ones. He's just a very business-like operator. Shelby Harris, not as twitched up, not as diverse, but very much a solid rotational player, and I think he will continue to be a nice part of what they do this year. I am looking forward to Mike Hall's return when that comes, probably a couple 3 weeks away still, but can make himself ready for week 1 is the plan. Jawan Briggs, still stout as ever, does a great job, shock, shed, and delivering against the run. He will be on the roster. I'd be surprised if he isn't. Sam Kamara, okay, practice squad guy who can play in and out, kind of the same mold as Aiden Huntington, and maybe Huntington takes that role from him, but that's the guys up front. Listen, Carson Schlesinger, if I had to just take what I've seen at camp, and you're always a little cautious because you want to see, does this translate against other teams? He looks the part of a very good linebacker, and I'm talking quickly. He's already handling stuff from the sideline, calls, translating them as the green dot, doing, checks, moving players around. He seems to be very much ahead of the curve on the mental side of the position. So that is in a really good place. And then he flies around. He's every bit of close to 245, 250, moves really, really well. I am sad in my soul that I can't see him with JOK, because I think if you had those two together, if Schlesinger's who I believe he will be based on the early viewings, special football player chance here. So I am really, really excited to watch him play. The veterans behind Devin Bush, Jerome Baker, they'll be fine. They're fine. They're where they're supposed to be. Jerome Baker handles more of the second team. Devin Bush plays more alongside Schlesinger, but I do think Diabate will ultimately play, next to Schlesinger more. I think Diabate is very physical. He's still trying to get the details of off-ball linebacker pinned down because of the change in position the way it needs to be, but I just think he provides the most upside long-term. And while Schlesinger and him have not been on the field a ton together, I do think that will trend in a better direction. Bookie Watson, who wears number 40, the second-year Mississippi State product, I think, again, is making some strides. He looks really comfortable in more of that Sam base linebacker, third linebacker look, and I think he's got a chance to do that for the Browns. Winston Reed, special teams ace, continues to do that, a very vocal part of specials, and I think they like him. I think there's a chance they're going to keep 6 linebackers. I feel relatively confident in that, but there's probably people breaking that down on a spreadsheet who might have a different opinion, but I still like Winston Reed and what he's doing for them. And you do need core special teams guys. So, some things have happened, damage to the linebacker room in terms of, the surprising Jordan Hicks retirement, where JOK's body is at this point, but you are optimistic about the group they still have in place. So, I like how they've performed. The secondary, you lose Martin Emerson, which is heartbreaking, but otherwise has been performing fairly well. I think the guy you're concerned about, because I think, Ward has looked the part. Grant Delpit's had good moments. Ronnie Hickman in the veteran safeties, KZ been jumping some routes from center field. Rayshon Jenkins gets in the mix more down in the box, which is what I anticipated for him. They've got chess pieces back there, right? The depth at corner I am concerned about. It gets into the Tony Brown, world pretty quickly, but It's a matter of what their third guy is going to be. And I wrote about this yesterday. If you missed it, is that going to be like they're going to try to run Cam Mitchell and Miles Harden, their late round picks in the 23 and 24 draft, into that role? Or are they going to try to fit Nick Needham back into a role he hasn't handled since 2021 if he makes the roster? That's the question. I think you got to look at cheap trade market. I mean, there's some veterans that I'd be interested in, and at worst, you're trying to capitalize on cut down day, but that's so late and close to the season. It's a dangerous game. Most of the group has looked solid. I have been concerned with Mitchell. Haven't seen enough from Harden to feel good about the nickel role when they do get into some of those, heavier DB packages. They're going to use still their 4-2-5 and get 3 safeties on the field. I've seen Ronnie Hickman roll down and play down low while they play, KZ or Chris Edmonds, the second-year UDFA out of Arizona State, number 41, has been out there early on with early units, right? First team at times. So they like him. I don't have much on Donovan McMillan right now. We'll see if the preseason can clarify that a little bit for us, but they've got enough safeties to do that. The question is, do you want to live in that world when you want to get into your man coverage looks? And you don't want to do that very often. So if that's the case, who's your third corner? And do you feel comfortable with them in more man situations you like to run when you had your best 3 guys out there? That's the question. I think they're going to tell us how serious they are about winning games based on their handling of that role. That's my interpretation, because I haven't seen enough that would make me sit back as Jim Schwartz and the way he prefers to structure coverage and feel so comfortable with Cam Mitchell, Miles Harden, or Nick Needham handling that role when that guy's out there a lot. Greg Newsome getting back outside is probably one of the best things that could happen for his career. Now, maybe they sign somebody who's an outside guy and they got to bump Greg back inside. But if I was Greg Newsome, I'd feel excited about the opportunity to go back outside predominantly and do what he did best his first year. That's where I'm at with it. I think they're a body short. And I think running it up to the season and trying to go waivers or not doing anything at all from now until late August tells a pretty defined story about their intentions this year. Just that's the truth of it for me. DeAndre Carter handles most of the return opportunities. He'll get back there. Pierre Strong is with him. If Pierre Strong makes the team, I think he will do that. If not, I do think you will potentially see Jerome Ford back there a little bit handling some of that stuff. It is a different camp with no Charlie Hewlett there. It's first time in a long time, but Rex Sunahara continues to handle that snapping stuff well. Seems fine. Haven't seen much kicking from Dustin Hopkins, so it's not something we can really report on right now. They've been very much handling organization structure and alignment position stuff for specials. I imagine that will uptick today and into the next few days. So that's the camp insights as I've seen them so far. That's an update on everything. I'll have the same sort of interpretation daily. I'll give you more of a comprehensive look early next week after I finish up Monday's session as well. So we're shaking, we're moving. A lot of stuff's happening. 3 important days of viewing before we get into game week, which you guys like me, we're pumped to see some live football. So that's it for training camp coverage. We are now going to shift over to our time with Cory Kinnan, and I think you're going to really enjoy this. So stick around, hang out. Thanks for stopping by. If we're checking out for the day because you don't have the ability to come over and join us quite yet, please do so. I think you will really enjoy it. Let's get over to that interview right now with Cory Kinnan, or if you're checking out for the day, thanks for stopping by. All right, we're excited to get Cory's time. Anytime we look forward to the draft in a series. So I think last year, Cory, this time we thought the Browns were going to be far better than they ended up being. So although we were back inside the first round, it was still like, what are they looking for? Is Deshaun Watson going to rebound? Do they need a quarterback? Or, there was so much range there. The talking draft this time of year was not a fruitful endeavor. But this situation now, even if you want to be super Browns optimistic, you can get into the world of, whether you think the Jags are going to be good, then, you can compare the 2 picks and kind of move up. No matter what, you can find yourself talking about the top end of the draft. And as we watch training camp, we still don't have anything solid at quarterback, as we won't until December, if at all. But, Cory, where I'm at is like Browns fans should be appointment television with some of these guys. So I really want to give you a chance to speak, because I know you can remind folks of the charting that you do, and I know we've talked through this, and most people who come on the pod here and hear you with me know this, but like you're breaking down pretty much every throw for charted accuracy, and then that just gives you a chance to simultaneously, as you're charting, like go through the process of scouting these guys. So you have a feel for them in a pretty serious way at this point. So I want to break down your top 5, which I think is a fruitful endeavor. But I don't want to speak too far for myself. I mean, you've been watching some Cam stuff from afar, and you know where they're at. Like, or do you find yourself just like thinking quarterback for these guys? Or are you looking other places? It's tough. I feel like we could pick now with Martin Emerson and a lot of the like and stuff. There's quite a few places to pick, but I still just feel like quarterback is the sort of linchpin of the whole thing still in the draft far away.
I think you have to anticipate that with 2 first-round picks. And this team specifically, I think you have to anticipate quarterback. You know, especially going into last draft saying, I mean, it came out afterwards, like they were pretty hell-bent on not even looking at quarterback in the first 2 rounds. So like, that's basically them saying like, we're not here to find one this year. I think Jimmy let the cat out of the bag at his presser saying, you know, we have to see these guys. Like he straight up said it to the media. So like, we're going to see what these rookies have, but like you don't go into a season where you have 2 first-round picks the next draft saying, well, we're going to give these guys every opportunity to prove themselves. Like it's got to be quick and it's got to be immediate or else it's time to move. And so I think that's where they find themselves heading into, you know, we're talking a long time out here. And we're also talking about a group of quarterbacks here where specifically in the NIL era, like the top 2 quarterbacks that people want to talk about both have remaining eligibility and they're 21 and 19 years old. So like these guys are making $6 million right now anyway. So barring like, yes, these guys will be the top pick in the draft, they're going to go back to school. And I think we have so much data that shows that like quarterbacks who don't have at least 2 years of starting experience at the college level tend to struggle coming to the NFL. And we're seeing a lot of these older guys, you know, the Bo Nixes of the world, the Michael Penixes, limited reps. It's hard to say in Michael Penix, but we're seeing these guys who do have the starting experience coming up from the college level that like the transition is easier for them. And I think we might be jumping the gun a little bit with some of these, and I'm not like trying to pour cold water on the Bo Nix thing, but you know, we kind of did that with Mac Jones too, right? Because we knew he had a high floor and then he met that high floor immediately and then just never moved past it. And I think we could have that same kind of situation with Nix a little bit. I think Nix is obviously a better athlete and has a better arm. So there is a higher ceiling there. Just kind of question how much higher. But the quarterbacks you can get really excited about in this year's class are again really young and have remaining eligibility. So it's hard to like, as we sit here July 31st and say like, yeah, but again, there are like 1, 2, 3, 4 third-year starters in my top 6 quarterbacks coming into into this year as well. So there are some names to